Okay, it has kicked off. It has kicked off completely between Gwyneth Paltrow and Meghan Markle. Initially, their feud was bubbling under the surface. It was sort of like we knew what was going on.
Meghan Markle is reportedly fuming over some shady moves on Instagram. And to make things worse, Gwyneth Paltrow just threw some serious public shade her way. What's really going on behind this new celebrity clash? Let's break it all down. It started with a subtle Instagram post.
This weekend, everything changed. First, with this video from Gwyneth Paltrow. There are so many telltale signs here that what she is doing is taking the mickey out of With Love Meghan. So, firstly, no makeup. Secondly, the kitchen is in her own home. If you listen to the video on Gwyneth's Instagram, you'll hear the music that she is playing is the very, very similar theme song to With Love Meghan. She's making a really basic breakfast and trying to pretend that it is some sort of world-enhancing project. So I knew exactly what Gwyneth Paltrow was doing from that moment on. It was like, this is war. And Gwyneth isn't the only one to do it either. Look at her colleague at Goop, Tracy Anderson. And of course, it's all about our own home. So Meghan decided to respond yesterday to Gwyneth because she ain't taking this lying down with perhaps the grossest looking banana split I have seen in my life.
Voila! Voila! Cheers. Cheers. So good. Like that.
And the reaction, as you can imagine, was immediate. Paula M. wrote on X, in case there is any doubt, yes, Gwyneth Paltrow is shading Meghan Markle. She even makes sure to show her own emblem with her initials on the coffee cup. Nancy Sidley, OMG, Meghan and Callie trying to throw shade back at Gwyneth Paltrow. This is a game they are going to lose. Meghan's mole. Meghan Markle is so pressed to clap back, she couldn't even be bothered to change out of her pajamas and didn't even bother to ask Kelly if she wanted to put her bag down. Is anyone impressed by a banana cut in half with granola, yogurt and jam to serve adults? WTF. The Royal Grift said, wonder how Abigail Spencer feels that Meghan Markle has replaced her with friend Kelly. Literally everything is so scripted and staged. And on that note, Meghan, watch this, decided to say that despite being shaded by the two lifestyle gurus of the world in Gwyneth Paltrow and Martha Stewart, don't worry, everything's okay because she's flying.
A wellness influencer made a post about inauthentic Duchess vibes, and fans instantly speculated it was aimed at Meghan. The shade was real, and insiders claim Meghan didn't take it lightly.
Into the week with my family, and she says, thanks to my H for capturing this. My H, and he will do exactly what I tell him to do. And yes, he is mine. Brittany, editor of the Royal News Network, joins me now. Brittany, this is fascinating because last week in the Vanity Fair article, Gwyneth Paltrow was playing this relatively quietly, right? Like you could absolutely read between the lines and see what she was saying. There was a bit of translation going on, you know, oh, maybe I need to go and offer them some food beyond their security detail. No, I don't actually know Meghan Markle, despite her leaking the fact that we're great friends. But this is now out and out warfare between the true lifestyle guru and the great pretender. Do you agree that this is a battle Meghan Markle will lose?
Oh, yes, 100%. She will absolutely lose it because Goop is a tested and proven product. So you can say it's ridiculous, you can say it's overpriced. Doesn't matter. Gwyneth Paltrow is selling products. Meghan Markle has yet to sell one single product of her brand yet. And she's already starting off with, I think, some of the weakest products you could probably ever think of. And so Gwyneth Paltrow is looking over there at Meghan Markle and as ever going, she's laughing to herself in her kitchen for sure. Now, I'm not totally convinced that everything about that video was shade because she obviously does this quite frequently, the hashtag boyfriend breakfast that she does for her husband. However, do I think Meghan is trying to fight back against Gwyneth? Probably. And of course, that is a battle that she is already losing 100%. And Gwyneth, I don't think is a super big fan because like you said in that article, she was like sort of neutral, but also you felt the shade with like, well, maybe I'll give him a cake or a pie if I can get past their security.
And honestly, like, can we just take a look at this banana split? Brittany, I mean,
Yes.
she hasn't even bothered.
gross.
Look at that. She hasn't even bothered to cut off that gross part of the banana. You know, the bit at the banana, the end bit of the banana that no one wants to eat. And I have to be honest with you, Meghan really strikes me as the type of person who just eats because she has to live. Now, I'm one of those people, I live to eat, as you can probably tell. Now, this looks like a piece of crap. Just let me show you this banana again. That is so lazy, so unappetizing, unappealing in every possible way. The fact that she thinks in any way this is proving she's a lifestyle guru is just embarrassing.
It really is because you look at that whole video and you're like, what's the point? She's not even showing, like, I would imagine they used her raspberry spread, but they're not even showing the bottle for it, which is like, that's sort of product placement 101. Like, Gwyneth shows the biscuits she's making. She shows the eggs. Like, she does what you're supposed to do if you're a lifestyle person trying to sell a brand. And Gwyneth, I don't think is probably making any money off of those biscuits. Maybe she is, I don't know. But that banana is just gross. It just looks incredibly unappetizing. It's weird that they're sharing it. And I'm like, why are you guys sharing it? She's all dressed up for the day. Meghan Markle's in her pajamas. I'm like, this is so weird. And Gwyneth is just very natural. She's making breakfast for herself and her husband in the morning and just having a bit of fun with it. She does this about every Saturday. So it's like totally natural. But Meghan and Kelly, it just seems so heavily contrived. And if the banana is supposed to entice me to get into her lifestyle brand, I'm like, I have a bit of the ick factor. So I think I'm done.
Totally.
Allegedly, she was seeing red over what she saw as a not-so-subtle jab at her and her brand. Was it about her? No names were dropped, but Meghan's camp reportedly took it very personally.
Now, the other thing that's very telling is that we know Meghan is now using her social media output to try and respond to various rumors. So there were a lot of people saying on Sunday morning, Brittany, this is a bit odd, like the best friend is at the house, but there's no sign of Harry, there's no sign of the kids. So then, of course, we get the bird video. And was your reading of that, because you could hear the kids in the background too, that it was very much saying, don't you worry, my H is still behind me. My H, he's mine.
Well, I love that she can't use his actual name. His actual name is Harry, or technically Henry, but she likes to, I think it's just weird that they use their initials, but also it's like, to me, it says since my H sent the story, all I can think of is, so that means you weren't with him when he took that video, that he sent that to you because he was with the kids by himself and you were off maybe with Kelly doing something. So instead of encouraging people to think, oh, they're so strong, they're together, I just think more and more that things are not going well behind the scenes. He's not really featured in any of her social media. That's probably his choice. But at the same time, I just get the sense of two people who are on very different chapters, and that Harry has just been so incredibly henpicked. He's just doing whatever he can to make her happy, and he's just probably praying that her brand is successful. Otherwise, he's not going to hear the end of it for the rest of time.
No, and neither will we. Now, okay, what about Ms. Kelly McKee Zajfen? Should Abigail Spencer be worried? Should Marcus Anderson, who's out of the picture now, be worried because Meghan is nailing her colours to the mast with this woman? She's now the BFF. She's now the bestie. What do we know about this woman?
I mean, not much. I mean, Meghan does tend to cycle through friends. Apparently, they actually met because I was curious if she knew Meghan during her high school days or something. But no, they actually met through Meghan's ex-husband. So I think the Kelly's husband and Meghan's ex-husband were friends, is my understanding. And so they got Meghan in the divorce. So I don't know what that says about them. But anyways, it seems like Meghan always likes to cycle through friendships. When she's sort of run out of a way to use a friend, she sort of jumps to the next one. And I think when it comes to Kelly, Kelly's profile is much lower. And I think Meghan sees an opportunity to have somebody who sort of can worship her. I think that's the people she's interested in are those who are also very interested in the limelight, can't really do it themselves. So they glom onto her, but Meghan can also use them. They're willing to be used. All these sorts of back and forwards with these relationships. I would argue these are not necessarily very normal dynamics. That's just my opinion. But I think Abigail Spencer, she's obviously acting. She was a more successful actress than Meghan Markle. And so I think Abigail's doing her own thing, still in the picture. The Marcus thing, though, that's a little odd because he was definitely their +1 in Texas last year, but I don't think we've seen him much since. So maybe she's moving away from Marcus. I don't know. But the dynamics are changing.
The criticism still keeps rolling in of Meghan Markle from the elites and the people of the media class, Brittany, that were very much behind her. So Graydon Carter, as editor of Vanity Fair, actually put her on her first major magazine cover. Remember that really famous Wild About Harry headline? He is now releasing a book and is pretty brutal. Let me read you the New York Post interview where he talks about Meghan. It writes, they write, Carter laughs remembering how at one point during the interview, this is for that cover article, Markle challenged the reporter, "Excuse me, is this going to be all about Prince Harry? Because I thought we were going to be talking about my charities and my philanthropy." Raising his eyebrows, Carter said of Markle, "This woman is slightly adrift on the facts and reality." Then, interestingly, Brittany, Graydon Carter obviously was someone who personally knew Princess Diana, and he said that Diana would not be happy with her son's current estrangement from the royal family. He said, "I would think she would feel great sorrow for her son to have been pulled away from his family like this, especially his brother, but also his father. Someone comes between siblings, that's a disaster, horrible for the family." And you'll remember, you remember the famous night when Princess Diana stepped out in her LBD, her little black dress. Yes, there it is. Absolutely iconic image. It was to go to an event with Graydon Carter, and that was the night that King Charles, then Prince Charles, admitted to the world his adultery with Camilla. So this is a guy who has a real right, Brittany, to speak out on this. And once again, scathing of Meghan and very concerned for Harry.
Then, things escalated. Gwyneth Paltrow was asked about celebrity wellness brands during a panel, and her comments raised a lot of eyebrows. Fans immediately connected the dots.
Yeah, and the whole separation between Harry and his family, I mean, I think to anyone that just looks very suspect because we know he was close with his brother, he was close to other members of his family. Meghan enters the picture and all of a sudden he's estranged not only from them, but from his friends that he's had for many years, like Skippy Inskip. Like he doesn't talk to him. As far as we're aware, he wasn't even invited to Harry's reception after the wedding. And he was the one who has been friends with Harry since I think like middle school age. I don't know what level that would be in the UK, but since they were young teenagers. And so that Harry has lost all these friendships, I think is very, very concerning. But I do have to say, I love his comments on Meghan Markle as well, that she somehow thinks that anybody actually cares about her individual endeavors since getting with Harry is definitely very, very delusional, because the only reason she got that interview was because she was allegedly at the time, or they might have already been engaged, was going to marry Prince Harry. Without him, Meghan Markle is not really. She's a bit player on Suits, had a middling blog. That's all she is. And so I think what's really fascinating is that Meghan continues to think that anybody really is all that invested in her individually. If she wanted people to acknowledge her own accolades, then don't marry a very wealthy man. Instead, do it yourself rather than relying on your husband's titles, because that's definitely all she's done. But the separation between Harry and his family, I just continue to think is incredibly tragic and something Diana would have absolutely hated.
Her philanthropy, Brittany. What philanthropy? Like, genuine question. She was happy to be flown around the world by organizations like the United Kingdom if it suited her, if it got her a photo opportunity, if it got her a free trip. But I don't remember any philanthropy. Do you?
I mean, all I can remember is I think she did one trip for World Vision in Africa where she took a photographer and had multiple outfit changes so she could do, you could call it like poverty porn, like going around in these poor villages, but taking pictures of herself and making sure she got these great shots, one of them even looking like Princess Diana. So that's all she's ever done. Her philanthropy, if you want to call it that, is very middling. I mean, of course, they wouldn't have given her the interview for her philanthropy. What was it? Like, they couldn't even tell you. And so it was definitely something where they were pushed into doing it because she's like, I'm going to marry Harry. And so this is why you need to pay attention to me. And it's like, well, yeah, that's partly true. But your idea that anybody cares about your charities or philanthropy is a bit of a joke and very diluted, because the only reason anybody cared is because the guy she was connected with, and that's it. If she wanted to be taken seriously, number one, achieve something great with your philanthropy. If not, then you married a guy who got you fame and fortune, let's be honest.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Brittany, by the way, you raised that poverty porn thing, because I've actually never signed up to that ideology. I don't agree with it at all. However, Meghan and her woke friends do. And look at this trip for World Vision. It is the definition of poverty porn. Meghan was only doing this to raise her own profile. And to me, philanthropy is actually when you're actively raising money for others. And I don't see any evidence that she's actually done that. But Brittany, as you can imagine, the lefties, the Meghan Markle brigade, the Sussex squad are out in force trying to use that interview last week with Ted Sarandos, the co-chief executive of Netflix, as evidence that she's won this battle, okay? The iPaper ran a column this week saying the anti-Meghan brigade have just loathed her all the way to the bank and made her even more famous than ever. Narinder Kaur responded to that saying Meghan is lovable, hardworking and kind to everyone around her. She isn't leeching from the taxpayer and is a role model for girls everywhere. But actually, if we just talk about the facts, I mean, look at this from Royally Sage that has crunched some of the key numbers on With Love Meghan and said that fall was a steep tumble. Once people mocked it, they moved on. Rachel has no staying power. So where do you stand on this, Brittany? Has she won?
Was Gwyneth calling out Meghan's new lifestyle brand without naming her? Twitter went wild. And knowing Meghan's history with how she's perceived in the media, this hit hard. So what happens now? Will Meghan respond publicly? Will Gwyneth clarify her comments?
Oh, definitely not. Her numbers for With Love Meghan were, when you think about how much press she got, that she only got allegedly 2.6 million viewers, is actually quite small. And the way Netflix calculates it is that they actually divide the number of watch hours by viewing time. So they're basically thinking that everybody finished when we know they know the true metrics. And I would guess actually the viewers were higher, but they only watched for an episode or two. That's a complete disaster. And Ted Sarandos, like, he's banking on something that happened 3 years ago, which was a Harry and Meghan show. And allegedly Meghan sold out some things. Like, that's his whole basis around this investing in this lifestyle brand that he acknowledges he knows almost nothing about, that she knows nothing about. And so it's like the blind leading the blind here. They're going to sort of run into an epic train wreck, because what we've seen, and this is happening with Snow White as well, is that there can be a lot of noise around something, but doesn't always result in viewers. It doesn't result in people purchasing the products. And that's what Meghan needs. She has not won yet. She will only win if and when she actually can get this brand to be built. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it folds after a year or two, to be quite honest, because I don't know how much she'll actually sell. Her products are pedestrian. Will she have the best tea? I don't know. Well, her raspberry spread, is that as great as she
Of
thinks
course
it is?
it won't be.
I have no idea.
It'll be bloody awful
Yeah.
if that banana split is anything to go by, Brittany. Now, Narinder Kaur saying Meghan is lovable, hardworking, and kind to everyone around her. Well, I wanted to show this compare and contrast that has been going viral, Brittany, and it's how Meghan constantly wants to cling to the fact that she has a title in stark contrast to Catherine, the Princess of Wales. And I actually think it shows you that Meghan isn't lovable and kind. Isn't that telling, Brittany?
It so is. Meghan is so desperately clinging to that title because it is really the only thing that gives her relevance. She failed, you could say, in multiple levels before marrying Harry. She was a bit actress instead of an Oscar-winning one. She had a middling blog instead of Goop or something like it. And so she has had these sort of just very, I mean, she's accomplished things, but let's be clear here, was not super successful before marrying Harry. So she has to desperately cling to the title because that's the only thing that gives her relevance. I think she is entirely banking on her title to sell her products, which is a terrible business strategy because yes, your name will get out there. Your name means people will buy. But your name can only go so far if the products are bad. If the products are bad, nobody will enjoy them. Nobody will gravitate towards them. And I think she has a really, really big problem here. We know as well that she's had multiple issues with trademarks. So if you are having trademark issues, then that should be some of the easier things out of the gate, like signing a document. I imagine quality control on her products probably won't be so great either. And that spells, again, really disastrous results for her.
Or is this just another flash in the celebrity feud pan? Here's my take. Meghan's team is going to pivot hard into female empowerment messaging. And Gwyneth? She'll keep sipping green juice and throwing shade. I want to know what you think. Was this a genuine roast or just social media jumping to conclusions? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. And remember, whether it's royalty or rich girl wellness wars, we're always watching the tea brew. Catch you in the next one.